Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for joining us today. I'm Frudrick with Geeks with Gear, playing through a little bit of the new Nazi Zombies, and we're going to be talking a little bit about PC gaming and console gaming. So thanks for being here. If you're not here on the live stream or you miss any of it, we're going to be posting it to our YouTube channel later, so you can check it all out there. So, let's get going. Let's get this set up here, the Darkest Shore. Looks good. Let's go with that. Let's get going. So, PC gaming and console gaming. Right here, if you can kind of pick up from the dashboard, we're playing on a PlayStation 4. I've been playing on console for a long time. I was PC when I was younger. Played on our first family computer was a Commodore 64. If you don't know what that is, Google it or ask your parents. It was, for the time, it was pretty cool. It was, I'd say, on par, maybe a little bit better than Atari, which we also had. Atari 2600, the first gaming console, I think the only gaming console to have wood paneling on it. Definitely a product of the 80s. And, kind of the same. It was cool for its time to have your very own arcade gaming machine in your own home. So that was pretty cool. So now that I've totally dated myself, a little bit about where I began. And, the thing with PC gaming is even back then it was much simpler. Pretty much you'd use the arrow buttons, up, down, left, right, and maybe the space bar to jump. And those were your basic games. Or a lot of them were, type command type games. Basically like a digital Dungeons and Dragons. You get information from your characters and you type something back, and that's how you progress through the game. Pretty basic stuff. So back then, I think it was, pretty indistinguishable between the two, whether you were on a PC or whether you were playing on a console, so to speak. It really didn't matter, at least kind of in my realm. As the years progressed, I continued on and started to point towards the consoles. The next console I ended up owning was a Sega Genesis. I had friends that had Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Sega Genesis was the first one I got. Especially at that time, I think for work my dad had to get a new computer. He ended up getting a Macintosh. And kind of like today, there wasn't a whole lot out for it. There was some. There were companies like Blizzard who were really cool about making sure their products were compatible with PC and Macintosh. So that was pretty cool. I got to play those games. And like Warcraft, Diablo, those were really good for PC. Even today, Warcraft, World of Warcraft, they've been adapted, Diablo's been adapted for the console, but still really great games to play on the PC. From there, went on to PlayStation. That was a big system for me. Changed my gaming. Definitely kind of left a PC to the wayside and got more into console gaming. PlayStation 2, Nintendo 64. Whoever didn't play GoldenEye probably didn't have a good childhood. Just kidding. But yeah, that's where I trace back my first-person shooter love was playing GoldenEye. As well as back then, there wasn't much online gaming. You had the LAN play if you were going to be playing anything online. So again, telling you about how old I am. It was very limited capacity for anything like that. So it was a good time to get together with your friends, do some split screen, play some GoldenEye. It was pretty awesome. Xbox, of course, next came along, and that definitely revolutionized things. Halo Combat Evolved. That was a game changer and pretty much dominated for a while. Loved them. Halo 1, 2, and 3. For me personally, Halo ended at Halo 3, but that's a discussion for another time. Uh, but those were my gaming. Xbox 360, Xbox One. But I also still enjoyed PlayStation 3. Last of Us was a big one for me on that one. And of course, right now, PlayStation 4. They were able to get a huge gain with Call of Duty and getting the early access. So that was pretty cool for them, pretty good for them. As well as it's definitely a good system. Along with that, though, for about the last year and a half or so, I've been working on getting back into PC gaming. Just because there is so much that can be done with it now, a little program called Steam definitely changed things for me and for a lot of people. It was cool because, about a year and a half ago, I was able to get Call of Duty World at War, and we got it on Steam for pretty cheap, a few buddies of me. And it was fun to go back and play it, and as well as to see all the different mods for the zombies that had come out. So me and my buddies would play zombie mods all the time, and it was great. It was nice that you could use your Xbox controller. It was integrated with Steam, so that was nice too, because I'm terrible getting back to keyboard and mouse, which is, a little bit of another topic of discussion that we will get into. Keyboard and mouse versus controller. So it was nice that I had that option, and it definitely helped kind of integrate and get me back into that PC gaming. So that kind of brings us here today, where I'm at least. And there's a lot of people who are definitely diehard fans of either their console or their PC. But I think more and more nowadays, people are getting more and more versatile, and I think those who are a little more dedicated, a little more into gaming, are going to be playing on both, especially with streaming. With Twitch coming along, you need a pretty decent PC to be able to stream, even if you're going to be streaming your console games. And so along with that, a lot of them are going to start playing and gaming on their PC as well. So it makes sense that nowadays there's a lot more commingling, as well as companies like Microsoft are starting to make themselves more versatile in that way. We had the release of Gears of War 4 that came out, that you could play on PC or on console, and I really liked that because you bought the digital version and you could download it on either way in the Microsoft Store on your PC, or you could just have it on your Xbox, and you could play from either, whichever one you had going at the time. That's what you could play from. It included a lot more people because I had buddies who really only played PC, haven't really gotten into console gaming. So it was a way that we were finally able to kind of play together because they were able to put it on their system, and we could go at it. So that was pretty cool. I'm hoping a lot more are going to be going that way. We got games like Fortnite that are working with PlayStation and PC, so that's pretty cool. And I think it's a good direction that we're going in. Now, of course, there's the obvious differences. Console is pretty basic in the sense that you purchase it and you've got what you've got. Lately they've been releasing more systems than what they have in the past. Xbox 360, that upgrade, was kind of along the usual lines of what you would expect systems to be. But then they introduced the 360 Slim, which was kind of different, not unusual or unheard of, but a little different. And then with the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, now you're getting Xbox One X. They're definitely, shortening the timeline of a lot of these different upgrades. So, depending on how you look at it, it is a chance to upgrade and get more out of the system. But at the same time, you're having to go out and buy a whole new system. And so if you look at it, a PC gamer will look at it as upgrading their graphics card, upgrading their CPU, upgrading RAM. Different things like that you can kind of do at your own pace. It may affect the games you play, not entirely. You'll still be able to play most of the games. even if you haven't completely upgraded your graphics card. May not be as crisp and as clear, but you'll still be able to play it. But it's easy to put a lot of money into a PC. People say that a lot of the hardcore or more in-depth gamers play on PC for that reason. And to me, it makes sense. If you're going to dump thousands of dollars into your rig, you're going to be a little more dedicated and a little more into playing it. And, that makes total sense. Versus maybe a more casual gamer that's just going to drop a couple $100 on a console and just play games as they come. So, there's, as I said, definitely pros and cons to both, depending on how you look at it and just simply what you're looking for. So I think the other part, another end to this debate is controller versus keyboard and mouse. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm trying to get better with a keyboard and mouse. Right now I'm playing on a PlayStation, so obviously I'm playing with my controller. So which is better? That's kind of the debate. If you go into the forums, I think most people will say, keyboard and mouse is better. And for a lot of reasons I agree. I don't think it's the rule. I think there's a lot of caveats and variations to that. For example, certain games, depending on what you're playing, if you're playing the strategy games, it's not going to make that much of a difference as far as skill level. You're going to be able to play the games pretty much, similarly. But, games are going to generally be a little easier on a keyboard and mouse as far as, like, strategy games. Just because the layout's a little easier, the controls are a little clunkier, you are limited, so you're going to have to double use some of your buttons or button combinations to get a lot of the simple one-button presses that you would get out of a PC. PUBG was a pretty good example of that as far as a shooting game. Not to get into the aiming and fighting just yet, but just in talking about the button layout, I think you had to double tap your aim button to aim down sight on the console, whereas it's just a simple button click on the PC. So things like that make a difference. For some people, it's not that big of a deal. Some people are very versatile with their controller. It's kind of me. To me, it flows a lot better. To me, it feels a lot better than kind of the flow of a keyboard and mouse. To me, it's more clunky. The WASD and then the mouse. Some people would say I'm crazy, and that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinions. And yeah, I am still trying to get better at it because there are definite advantages. One area I can definitely see that is when I play Black Ops 3 Zombies. When I play on the console, or even when I play PC but connect my controller, I could definitely see a difference in headshots. With the keyboard and mouse, I can definitely get more headshots, and even at a distance. In that aspect, the controller is a lot more accurate. It is a lot easier to control, or excuse me, on a keyboard and mouse. So I definitely get that. I've seen it play out myself, so I can understand that. As well as with gaming mouses these days, the way you can customize them. You have the little weights in them that you can change, as well as your sensitivity. You can change in a much more minute level than what you can on a controller. So that does definitely make a difference. As well as button mapping. That's another huge part that gives a bigger advantage to PC players. A good example of this is Fortnite. Everybody's playing Fortnite these days. And I've played both. I've played it on PC and I've played it on console. And what you'll see the pros, or at least the top ranked guys, building is huge. Being able to quickly put up structures, barriers, shield yourself from bullets. Of course, when you get to the end rounds, you're going to find the huge, massive structures that people are going to fight out in. And, there's YouTube videos out there, and there's things that show you can build twice as fast on a PC as you can on the console, just because of the way the buttons can map and the way they can lay out. And that's a huge advantage. If you are getting shot at and you have to push 3 or 4 extra buttons just to try and get to the build mechanism you want to, versus having all those buttons individually mapped out on your controller, or on your mouse or your keyboard, it's huge. I mean, it's a huge advantage. So that's an area that I understand and can see. Some games, to me, are kind of up in the air. I know earlier last year, Blizzard made kind of a big deal about keyboard and mouse being integrated with controllers for Overwatch. Now, I've played both, and, we talked about aiming, and things are definitely a little more accurate with your keyboard and mouse. I definitely agree with that. But in a game like Overwatch, depending on your game, depending on who you play with and how you play, it doesn't make as big of a difference, I think. I generally tank. So when I take Reinhardt and put on my shield and push down an alleyway, it really doesn't matter if I'm on a controller or if I'm using a keyboard and mouse. As well as, since all your attacks are so much closer and they're melee, it's really not that big of a deal. And, I've gone onto the PC, connected my controller, and played, and done just as well. I've beaten out plenty of players that I'm sure are on a keyboard and mouse. Same thing with Diva. Everybody pretty much just spams her shotguns. So you're pretty much just spamming that and then adding in your blocking as well as your rockets and movements. And with shotguns, you don't need to be super accurate. As long as you're in the same general area, you'll be doing fine. So, for me, something like that was debatable. Now, that being said, I also play on a much more casual level. This isn't something that I'm getting paid for. I'm just out playing because I enjoyed it. So when you start getting into things like the new Overwatch League, I can understand where that makes it for a bit more concern. Is the keyboard and mouse really giving you that much of an advantage? Enough so that it would be considerable to separate the two, keyboard players and controller players. Now, I think right now in the Overwatch League, everybody's playing on PC anyway, just for that reason, playing with the keyboard and mouse, for the idea and the thought and the theory that, it is more accurate, swifter, and better than the controller. Which makes sense. When you're playing at that level, you're going to want every advantage you can get. So I understand that they would do that. But, you think about it in other terms and in other ways as well, that overall skill is going to play a lot into it. Like I said, right now, I can get on a console and I can hold my own pretty much in whatever I play. I wouldn't say I'm the best gamer out there, definitely not. I'm not the worst gamer either. I can hold my own in zombies, I can hold my own in team deathmatch and multiplayer. Pit me against, someone of my same skill in keyboard and mouse situation, I'm going to do horrible because I'm just not used to it. It's not my thing. So simply giving someone a keyboard and mouse doesn't just mean instantly they're going to be better or do better. There's a lot of skill level involved with it, a lot of experience on what you're used to and what you can play. And just the same, take two pros who have been playing keyboard and mouse for forever, give one of them controller, Yeah, I mean, you definitely say they're going to be at disadvantage for the fact that it is a controller, but also for the fact that if they're not used to it, it's definitely a different style and a different way of playing. So that makes sense to me as well. But yeah, overall skill is also going to make a difference. Pit me against a brand new PC player on keyboard and mouse, and I can definitely take them. So you got to account for that as well. It's not just an instant hand you over a win just because you're playing with PC and a keyboard and mouse. So those are all things to consider and think about in the debate. For me, as I said personally, I think it comes down to personal preference. I don't do professional gaming by any means, so I understand how it makes a difference when you're getting paid for that kind of a thing. But what do you guys think? Give us a comment, give us your ideas. Is it that big of a difference? Is it a game changer? Is one vastly superior to the other? Is it a matter of simple skill? Who knows? I think there's a definite idea and a different consensus out there. But as I said, I don't think it's the absolute rule. I think it just depends. So, alright. So, wasn't a super long episode today. Just wanted to get a little bit of chat in. I want to hopefully be doing this once a week, if not more. Want to host some gaming. Maybe we can all get together and play too. So, I've been really excited about doing this. Glad to be out here. If you haven't checked us out on Facebook and Instagram, at Geeks with Gear, check out some more news, all your gaming and geeking news, as well as your funnies for the day. Come and check out some memes, some funny stories, and some funny pictures. And as I said, this is also going to be posted on YouTube, so head over to our YouTube channel. We'll put the description there, and especially if you check out either our Instagram or our Facebook, you'll be able to find our links there as well. And if you are watching this recording on YouTube, if you liked what you saw, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. Definitely help us out. We'll be able to help us get you more content and more coming your way. And yeah, it was fun. We're excited. Thanks for joining us, and you all have a good day.